You see, the early 2010s was a drastically or somewhat different time than what exists today. The internet was way more unregulated, and although the occasional DMCA takedown would happen every now and again, it just had this overall vibe of the International County Fair where you can post pretty much whatever you wanted regardless of how inappropriate or cringy it was. Let me explain. Now, as I'm recording this, I'm celebrating my 10-year anniversary of my main channel being up on YouTube. Unfortunately, it was a lot of 10 years of, going nowhere, one video getting viral and ending up with 1,000 more subscribers. And by the way, the link to my main channel is right up here if you're curious. So I do mainly a lot of story stuff. So where I read my stories that I've personally written. So fantasy, sci-fi, and anything that you're into that's fictional, it's all up there. But anyways, you're not here for me to plug my crap. What you are here to hear is that's a funny pun. So anyway, what you are here to hear is what YouTube was like in the early 10s. For starters, the interface was somewhat different, like the titles of videos, instead of being at the bottom of the screen when you clicked on them, were at the top. And to help explain why, we need to go back to when YouTube was founded. It was founded in 2005 by two ex-PayPal employees in the Silicon Valley. They were disgruntled with PayPal, so they decided to branch out and do their own thing. They decided to start up a dating site where people would upload their videos. And back in the days when it was in, this aspect ratio, because widescreen wasn't a thing, but I digress. So, as I was saying, in 2005, they started this dating site where people can upload video of them talking about themselves, their phone number, their email, and just all kinds of unspeakable, unthinkable things that you wouldn't think it would fly on YouTube nowadays. But because it was a video uploading platform, people would upload whatever crap it was, be it movie clips, planes taking off, just random little things like that. And then YouTube soon became renowned as the place to upload videos. No longer were you relegated to download videos on a file sharing site like Kazaa or USA Live, which would take hours or even half the day if it was a somewhat slow dial-up connection, but again, I digress. Now you can actually stream video that other people upload, and their slogan was broadcast yourself, and they soon went viral with all manner of lip syncing, memery, flash animation, however crude or vulgar it was. A lot of us were exposed to it, and it still remained like this when I discovered the internet around 2008, 2009, when my middle school was teaching me how to use a web browser. And I was just floored by just how much information was out there that I could find out all this interesting stuff about old game consoles, commercials, and just things that I never would have known about until then. Even emulated games, because I was getting into retro games at that point. For systems I previously didn't even know existed. The internet was this wonderful place where it really was like an international county fair. And I started the main YouTube channel with this mentality. And when I was in middle school, I had this free period, and every now and again I'd be led into the computer lab to use one of their iMacs, and they had this app called Photo Booth on the computers. And I would make silly little videos of myself messing around with the iMac camera. This would be when I was 10, 11 years old. And when the next class would come in to use the computer lab, they would watch the video that I'd put on there earlier that day, and they'd be laughing their asses off. And that's actually how I became one of the most popular kids in school. And I more or less kept on doing it. Ready to take my antics out into the world, I decided to start my own YouTube channel. And a lot of people might not recognize this, but YouTube used to be a much more niche thing to be involved with. Commenting, uploading used to be way more exclusive. YouTube was its own dedicated thing. If you had a Gmail, you had a Gmail. If you had a YouTube, you had a YouTube. But it was this own dedicated little thing that you had to have in order to comment or in order to like videos. So you could watch videos without having an account, but you couldn't subscribe to anyone, and you more or less just kind of browsed around seeing what was there. And also, old YouTube used to be way more customizable than it is today. And so when I did make my channel, I think I gave it like a red and black color scheme, but other channels would have like blue and green. Some of the more popular channels would even have like border art around the videos and stuff. And because this was also the time when they were experimenting with, widescreen aspect ratios, around that time, sometimes the video would look like this, and other times it would look like this. So, as I was saying, I was ready to make my own YouTube channel, so I filmed a silly little workout video, thinking it was going to be amusing, with the channel intended to be about gaming. I had this idea for Tonstad 39, Tonstad being the password that I had for the Alex program, which was like this math edutainment software that, we were required to have in middle school at that time. And 39 came from how many games I had on the Wii at the time. I had this idea that every video that talked about a different system, like if I was doing the Xbox, it'd be Tonstad 4, because I only had 4 games on the Xbox, or Tonstad 20 when I was doing N64 games, and so on. And so I would just put up and film videos about whatever I wanted. And also, attitudes towards trolling was way more different back then. Now, I don't know how it is for anyone else, but at least for me, if you were getting rude comments, if you were getting like rude guys in your comments, or people saying you should get a life or go fuck yourself, that was a sign that you were doing something right. Because trolls do what they do to piss you off, and they feed on your salt. So, what better place to, piss people off than a somewhat popular-ish video where there's lots of people viewing and lots of people checking out the comments and stuff. And so, yeah, that was something people did a lot. And like I said, DMCA takedowns have been a thing at this point. Like, there was literally a case where a lip-syncing video got pulled down as early as 2006, after being the most widely viewed video on YouTube at that point. So DMCA takedowns were a thing, but because YouTube wasn't quite as mainstream as it is now, no one in wider society really knew about it as much. And I had to take a 2-year hiatus, not because of, trolling or copyright stuff. Well, believe me, I'll get into copyright stuff soon enough. But because of sheer technological incompetence. You see, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't actually have to be high production value in order to be, posted on YouTube. Like, it could be shot on potato cam with minimal editing, rambly dialogue. The quality does not matter. If there is a file, it's there. Simple as. And so, I had a hard time transferring the files onto the interface, and because of the technological incompetence, and because my mom was monitoring what I uploaded, so if I was swearing too much, she'd advise against posting that. And so these were just 2 factors that contributed to my 2-year-long hiatus. And I was brought back with, my iPad and a TV and a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And I wanted to usher in the secondhand CRT that I had at the time, because the CRT that I had before was getting all weird colors. Like, you try playing Sonic 2 with a red Sonic, a yellow sky, and reddish blue tails. Yeah. And so we had to kick that CRT to the curb. Literal, come to think of it, it might have been literal now that I think back to it. So we got this very beefy Trinitron. And I set up my iPad to, film the TV. And I would post videos that way. And again, it still had that, international county fair vibe, where no matter if your video was about comedy or fursuiting or politics, if the video was there, the video was there. Whatever audience it had, that was the audience. Pretty much everyone was more or less happy with this. And then YouTube began to control people. And I go into it in depth in my cancel culture video, which you'll see right up there. And YouTube wound up becoming more and more strict. with the idea of protecting kids and people who are easily offended from words or opinions that they wanted to hear. So that International County Fair started becoming far more controlled by 2014, 2015 than it would have been in 2011, 2012. And even though YouTube had been bought by Google for years at that point, Google wanted to launch the social media site called Google+, and it wreaked a whole load of havoc on the world's comment sections, where any context that the comment had, like if it was a chain of comments, would be deleted, and you had to type plus and then the username if you wanted to respond to them. And this made me so absolutely angry with vitriol that I was no longer allowed to customize my channel the way I was able to before. And now it almost felt like, in a weird way, that I was, in a sense, imprisoned by the system. And when I'd get served my first few DMCA notices, because the content bots were becoming stricter and stricter at that point, I was scared because I was linked to this, Happy Tree Friends animation that basically said that you could go to court if you upload video that has copyrighted music, because that's like piracy. And it's like, I had a whole slew of people, friends, help aides, teachers, parents, who would be angry at me if I got served a court sentence at 16. And so I was fearful at wanting to, fight the system, because I did not want to be that stereotypical rebellious teenager. I wanted to show that I was a good boy, so I did do that, even though I damn well should have. Anyway, so things got stricter and more regulated, and heck, they were even beginning to shadow ban people for a while. And the coup de grace came with COPPA, when they tried to block all comments if it was deemed not suitable for kids. And more recently, YouTube is even auto-modding videos, so that way in the low bar when you're uploading now, they have it set on default to where comments are moderated by default. And it's in an area where smaller channels won't think to look. The only thing that concerned for that was, is it age restricted, yes or no? That's basically all it was until then. And now it's like, is this video for children, and, is this age restricted? And so it's like, why do you have two checkboxes that basically mean the same thing? Although that COPPA stuff isn't all YouTube's fault. That's the Federal Trade Commission's, and that's actually a very long story for another video. And so I would record a video because it was a raw file. It was just one raw file that I had recorded, and I had put it up, and it took forever to upload it. Bear in mind, even though we lived in the middle of nowhere, we had Wi-Fi and stuff, but it would take forever. And if your device went to sleep, it would stop uploading. So you'd be doing something else and then glancing back to see if your device had fallen asleep. And it would take upwards of 30, 40 minutes just to upload one video. And yeah, that's pretty much more or less how it was or is. You'd make a title, description, then you'd choose a thumbnail. It still does. You choose a thumbnail from a frame of the video. It still does this, although the larger channels especially tend to use custom thumbnails. That was an option that I had to me back then. And also, you couldn't make money on YouTube. Any guys who are big on YouTube, like Smosh or the Nostalgia Critic or Angry Video Game Nerd, they would use a separate company, be it Screw Attack or Channel Awesome or whatever, that they would use a separate third party to make their money, to actually make their money. That wasn't until the partner program, which yours truly enrolled with the delusion that I could somehow become famous on YouTube.
I mean, hell, in addition to celebrating 10 years of Tonstad, this video even has a mission that you've probably been told at time and time again, and I'm just gonna be saying whatever the hell is on my mind just so I can fill silence, because I do not want any moment of silence to where you don't hear me talking. Because the moment I stop talking, you're going to click away. And when you click away, my view count suffers. And then it tells me that people don't care about me or what I'm doing. That they just see something I just spotted my own piece of graffiti there. Check this out. Right. So, as I was saying, so the moment people see that I'm not talking anymore, they're going to disengage and stop viewing my video. I can actually see how long people view my videos. And normally people don't even get past the first 30 seconds. You know, I have other things going on, like I've got my stories, I've got this, you know, I've got my book that's going to be coming out God knows when, and I've got school possibly. I worry about way too much, but you know, that's kind of what I get for not prioritizing properly. Yeah, prioritization has been a lifelong struggle for me, and I'm sure it is for you. And so I hope you find that it's somewhat relatable, even though you don't give two shits about me, nor you know who I am or why you should care about me. Fuck me, and fuck my life. God damn it, I'm silent again! Yeah, YouTube is a very, very cutthroat business. Like, if you don't look like you have money, then they're going to click away from you because it's not engaging enough. But then I don't just want to be a professional YouTuber. Like, I have all these pipe dreams, ranging from space colonies to underground cities, and just all these different little pipe dreams that, you know, I just have concocted in my head. And it's just so disheartening, you know, when there are people out there. When there are people out there. Wait, what was I gonna say? God damn it! There are people out there who I want to help and who I want to see go further in life. But alas, no one's gonna give two shits about me. Just because I'm a nobody. I might as well be called Mr. Cellophane for all I care. And you know what? I hate that not enough people are paying attention to me, because I see myself as a god in the making. Because I'm thinking about so many different things. You know, electronics, gadgets, video games, TV, movies, and just preserving media, and just all the stuff that I'm constantly worried about. But I don't need to be. But it's like, I like doing things exactly. Like right when I edit the sound for these videos, I like getting it down to the exact millisecond. And I take a lot of pride in being very precise in what I do. But then, when people don't really care about all the effort that I put in, you know, why don't I just become some kind of lifestyle vlogger or something along those lines? Or hell, why don't I just write a story about one particular reader? Because all the dramas and stuff usually write their characters so stilted that basically, what was I saying? Ah, yes, that dramas and stuff usually end up writing their characters so stilted, so that way the viewer, you, can put yourself in that character's shoes. And I wonder, what exactly is the lifestyle of Dorothy Moore of Lawrence, Kansas? You know, how many kids does she have? You know, what's going on in her family? You know, what's her husband like? What's her dog like? What are her neighbors like? I mean, like, who wants to see a book about Dorothy Moore of Lawrence, Kansas, if there is a Dorothy Moore of Lawrence, Kansas? And I had this idea of, like, having a statement about cybersecurity by making the book about one particular reader and every little aspect of their life, right down to their work shifts and what they do in a normal week. And it's like, I've got to think of a reader whose story would be interesting enough for other readers to care about. Because in a soap opera or in a drama, the main character is you. The main character is not the guy you see on the screen or that teenager or whatever. The main character is you, and you are supposed to insert yourself into that character, which is why they're written so generically. And so that way you can replace the character with you. And I have to wonder, like, who are some of the most interesting readers that you know? Like, readers who are action heroes, or who are going through multiple divorces at the same time with different women. Or like, whose story sounds like something out of a fucking movie. And it's just like, I want to make people happier. And it's like all this effort that I'm going in, it's not yielding any fucking results. And so I must wonder, like, is there one particular reader who is interesting enough, or anyone who would pay attention to me? Or am I just destined for eternal sonder? Who knows what's going to happen, and I just wanted to get these things off my chest and to the camera. And it's like, I want to do something so wildly unconventional that no one's ever done before. This is why I write the fantasy stories that I do. And because I hated, just hated, how there's only two types of fantasy world. The first type, which is type where, you know, it's like modern life and it's basically reality where there's like cars and electricity and internet and so forth. But all the magic stuff is really, really fringe, and it only happens through one particular cult or in an alternate dimension or whatever. So this is basically your Grimm, your Harry Potter, and so on. And then the other type of fantasy world, where it's a world that almost always, and I mean almost always, imitating medieval Europe. And it's like, come on, where's the Mesoamerican fantasy, or the ancient Egyptian-based fantasy, or hell, even the feudal Japanese-based fantasy? You don't really find that, but you do find a whole lot of people trying to have medieval-style worlds, and of course, this is your Game of Thrones, your Lord of the Rings, your... Actually, Narnia's both of them at once, believe it or not. And I just hated how it's painted as one of the most imaginative genres in literature, yet one of the most widely copied genres of literature. See? That bird knows what's up. And so I decided to have a story where there's both, where magic is both common knowledge and where there's technology. And I wanted to have stories that actually speaks to people, not just panders to them and their base emotions. And now that I see the kind of stuff that's popular, what are some base emotions that I can cash in on and still be whimsical as fuck? Like, is there anyone in your life who you think would look good as a centaur or something equally fanciful as that? And apparently they can't see my face, can you? So I just look like this blob. Sorry, I'm looking at the camera viewfinder and I have no fucking clue how this footage will turn out. But I just wanted to get all this stuff off my chest, you know? Yeah, I'm really, really depressed. And as you're probably going to see in the 2015 exercise, I'm still going to be equally depressed. I've already exceeded my time, but I still want to talk to you guys about something. Maybe this will be a separate video on its own channel. Who knows? But yeah, that's basically all the stuff that I've been more or less worried about. And I just don't know where this is, because I'm just fascinated by so many different things, you know, that I just can't really pick which one in particular, you know, that I want to pursue. And it's just super duper annoying and frustrating that I can't seem to gather for one particular subject or anything of that nature. And I'm just like, I just want to make people happy. I want to get an entire population of people happy, something that will affect the lives of millions of people at once. I mean, like, and then because of this I get visions of how to bring the community together, because growing up I didn't used to have that sense of community. I mean, like, I lived in a freaking bedroom community called Boulder Creek. Like, I didn't go into my friend's house on a regular basis. I mean, there were always a special occasion, sure, but community seemed to happen in passing. They'd say hello, hello, and then they just go on with their life. And it's like, no one has a sense of togetherness in places like Boulder Creek. It is a total bedroom community. And because there's a lack of sidewalks or even bike paths, I couldn't just pop down to a friend's house for a few moments. And I'm just so goddamn depressed that no one seems to know their neighbors. Like, hell, it even gives me anxiety now of just going next door to meet the neighbors. Like, I hardly know any of my neighbors by name. I hardly know what La Selva's like or what the townspeople of La Selva's like. You know, and it's not just because I'm introverted. Pretty much a lot of California and a lot of newer towns are like this, where they use their houses as overgrown bedrooms. People seldom ever come over, and they just kind of go there, play video games, and sleep. And it's like, come on, I want to know what my neighbors are up to. I want to know what their friends are up to. I want to know how my mom's cousins are doing. Why don't I have that sense of closeness that people in the Midwest seem to take for granted? And it's like, where in California can I get this tight-knit sense of community and this sense of just belonging? When I've never had that. But I want to instill that in people, even an entire city of people. You know, I want to make the world sing. But it's like the entire world just wants you to be depressed because the entire world is out for themselves. And then you have it where they say that you can't, when you can. No matter what you think you can't do, you can do. Even when it seems totally impossible, you can do it. And then it's like, everyone says you can't, when you can. And then, and this is a good one, you need our help because you can't, when you can. God damn it. And it's like, I want to break the Guinness Book of World Record for the world's largest Christmas tree. Just get one of the redwoods that exist out here, you know, more than 300 meters high, and just decorate it up with trees and video monitors, almost like a temporary amusement park attraction. And just imagine that, 350 meters of pure Christmas joy. And I've even had this other idea of, you know how people are always going on and on about mass destruction and stuff? Well, I want mass celebration! Imagine this, an entire stadium filled with bachelors and bachelorettes, 300,000 singles in one place, all of them for the purpose of dating, like mass dating, 300,000 singles. I want to be able to arrange that and see through to it. And how many people would come out with a lover? Out of 300,000 people, how many would actually fall in love at an event like that? Because I want to make people happy. I want to give people that sense of joy that is so lacking in life. Because people are more pessimistic now than they ever have been. Life is much harder now than for people in previous generations prior to me. I mean, young people, myself included, are poorer than they ever have been, or at least poorer than they've been in recent memory. And it's like, I want you to be happy. I want the entire world to be happy. But it's like everyone wants to be depressed, angry, and fearful. And it just seems like such regression. Like I'm even seeing in like certain Asian countries, like India and Pakistan, where the women are wearing more traditional style clothing. And it's like, imagine if you saw white women dressed in Victorian style dresses and bonnets. You'd see that as regression, wouldn't you? But suddenly when an Indian woman wears her sari, suddenly that's cultural? I mean, it's like, that's not cultural. That's regression right there. That's degeneracy right there. And it's like, I want to bring humanity forward. And you know what? Even if I do sound like a dictator writing his manifesto in video form, I am going to do whatever it takes to make the entire world happier, better, happier, and be much better off now than they were in their parents' day. And no matter what I'll do, I'll see to it that you are the happiest you've ever been in your entire life. But unfortunately, you don't care about me, or my struggles, or my worries. You just go on here for 5, 10, 20 seconds. You go off on God knows what else, and just experience the same old mainstream crap on like TV and stuff, like very badly written, like late night TV, and it's even seeped into theater too. There's jokes that they tell that aren't even funny. You know, like when Amy Schumer says, "my vagina." It's like, yeah, your vagina, so? And like, when I went to Into the Woods, and it's like this fantasy play that, you know, my college was putting on at that point. And there was this one passing remark of, oh, I'm a single mom. The other character says, oh, that's fine. The entire theater fucking laughed. And it's like, what's so funny about single motherhood? I mean, is this really how humor is done to it? And it's like, trees are green. It's like, is humor nowadays really just saying a fact in a really funny way? It's like, dandelions are yellow like mustard gas! What is wrong with people sometimes? Sometimes I wonder if my crazy goes counterclockwise to other people's crazy. And it's just so goddamn annoying when I'm trying so hard and I see the laziest fucks get millions of dollars for their budgets. Is that really how I do it? By writing blank slates that the reader can actively fill in? Because the reader is a selfish piece of shit! This is Tonstad 39, over.